There are weddings that shine with luxury, others with originality, but some make history through the sheer strength of the love they reveal. The wedding of Jade Rick Verdillo and Jamaica Aguilar belongs to this rare category. What they experienced on July 22, 2025, in the Philippines was not part of their plans, but it is precisely what made their union unforgettable. For months, they had carefully prepared for this day. Every detail mattered: Jamaica's immaculate dress, the floral arrangements, the presence of their loved ones, and especially the sacred place where they were to say their vows, the historic Barasoain Church in Malolos, in the province of Bulacan. This church, built in the 19th century, is a national symbol. It has hosted foundational moments in the country's history, and for Jade and Jamaica, marrying there was an immense honor. But on that July 22nd, fate had prepared another stage. The sky darkened early in the morning. Heavy clouds announced nature's fury. Within hours, rain poured down with unusual violence. It was not just a tropical shower, but the devastating effects of Typhoon Wifa, which was striking the country. The streets of Malolos turned into torrents. Water seeped everywhere, flooding houses, shops, and even the doors of the church. Inside Barasoain, the water rose slowly, first covering the steps, then spreading across the pews. In no time, the central aisle, usually decorated with flowers and carpets, resembled an improvised river. The guests, arriving with difficulty, could hardly believe their eyes. Some whispered that the ceremony could not possibly take place. Others, with soaked feet, wondered if the place was safe. Many asked themselves whether the bride and groom would give up. Everything seemed lost. A wedding gown is not meant to float in water. A barong Tagalog, the traditional Filipino men's attire, wrinkles at the slightest touch of moisture. Not to mention the risks of electricity, slipping, or simply the discomfort of moving through a church turned into a pond. But in the middle of this chaos, Jade and Jamaica made a decision. They had not waited 10 years only to let a storm steal their moment. With one heart, they said, "We are going to get married, no matter the water, no matter the rain. Today is our day." This determination surprised and inspired the guests. Those who doubted began to smile. The news passed from pew to pew. The wedding would indeed take place, not tomorrow, not in another location, but here and now, in this flooded church. This choice marked the true beginning of their story. From that instant, this wedding stopped being an ordinary ceremony and became a living lesson in love, resilience, and courage. The bells of Barasoain had not rung in a long time when the solemn moment arrived. The church, usually filled with majesty and silence, echoed that day with an unusual splashing sound. The stagnant water reached up to people's calves, and every step created ripples that reflected off the centuries-old columns. When Jamaica appeared at the entrance, the crowd held its breath. Her white gown, symbol of purity, was already soaked, but her smile beamed. She had lost none of her grace. On the contrary, the image seemed surreal, almost cinematic. A bride walking slowly through a church turned into a lagoon, lifting her dress with one hand to keep it from floating, laughing despite the splashes. At the other end of the aisle, Jade waited. He too had accepted the challenge. Dressed in his delicately embroidered Barong Tagalog, he held in his hand the bouquet meant for his bride. Far from looking discouraged, he proudly raised his arm, as if declaring to the assembly that nothing, not even a storm, could tarnish their happiness. The guests, hesitant at first, were gradually overcome with emotion. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Others already pulled out their phones to capture this extraordinary moment. Their faces showed a mix of surprise and admiration. They understood that they were witnessing a wedding that would be remembered. As Jamaica advanced, the splashes followed each of her steps like improvised music. The water rippled around her, creating an almost magical aura. And when she reached Jade, silence filled the church. Everyone waited for their words. The priest, also drenched, could not hold back a smile. His voice carried a particular warmth, as if he felt that his blessing that day held deeper meaning than ever before. The ritual words resonated differently, amplified by the force of the circumstances, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health. Here, those words were not just simple promises recited. They came alive in that very moment. The couple was already living their first marital trial, turning the flood into a symbol of faithfulness. When they exchanged their vows, the entire room vibrated. Their voices carried unshakable conviction. Jamaica declared that no rain, no wind, no obstacle could ever turn her away from the man she had chosen. Jade replied that walking with her, even through murky water, was a promise to always walk by her side, no matter what. Then came the moment of the rings, a fragile, almost risky instant, for a ring dropped into the water would have been nearly impossible to recover. But their gestures were steady, their hands trembling more from emotion than fear. When the gold shone on their fingers, thunderous applause and cries of joy echoed through the church. At that instant, the guests were no longer spectators of a disrupted ceremony. They had become witnesses to a true celebration of love. Some joked that no wedding could ever compete with this one. Others, more serious, murmured that this couple was beginning their union with a strength few could claim. Very quickly, phones captured every second. The images showing the bride laughing in the water, the groom proudly holding his bouquet, and the two lovers standing hand in hand amid the flood would soon leave the walls of Baraswain and circle the world. That day, Jade and Jamaica did not only seal their love, they wrote a page of history, and without knowing it, they were about to become a universal symbol, celebrated far beyond the Philippines. As soon as the ceremony ended, the first photos and videos began circulating. The guests, enchanted by what they had just witnessed, shared those unique moments on social media. Within hours, the images of Jamaica and Jade, smiling in a church turned into a pool, went viral. The reactions came quickly. First in the Philippines, then across the world, internet users commented on this extraordinary wedding. Some wondered, how did they dare to go through with it under such conditions? Others admired. This is proof that nothing can stop two hearts determined to unite. Thousands of shares turned this anonymous couple into a worldwide source of inspiration. The media soon followed. The Associated Press broadcast the images internationally. Newspapers like People and The Independent published articles highlighting the character and strength of these young newlyweds. They were now being described as living symbols of resilience, lovers who had turned a flood into a fairy tale backdrop. In the middle of this buzz, the most important voices remained those of the newlyweds themselves. Asked after the ceremony, Jamaica Aguilar simply said, "We were not going to let the rain destroy this day we had been waiting for years." In her smile, one could read quiet pride, the certainty of having chosen courage over resignation. For his part, Jade Rick Verdillo confirmed that their decision had been instinctive. "When I saw the water enter the church, I was afraid, like everyone else. But then I looked at Jamaica, and I knew nothing had changed. The water was not going to drown our vows." His words, simple and sincere, resonated like a universal declaration of love and determination. Among the guests, a man named Jigo Santos shared his emotions. It was extraordinary. "We all understood that we were witnessing more than a wedding. It was a lesson. Love is not measured by the perfection of circumstances, but by the strength of two people ready to do anything to be together. This wedding, beyond being an unusual anecdote, offered a striking metaphor. Walking down a flooded aisle, feet in the water but head held high, perfectly symbolized married life. Because married life is never a long, quiet walk on a red carpet. It is made of the unexpected, of storms, of difficulties to overcome together. Jade and Jamaica gave the world a living image of this truth. To love is to choose to hold the other's hand even when the ground disappears beneath your feet. This symbolism did not go unnoticed. Many internet users used their images as illustrations for motivational messages. Love conquers all. Nothing stops two united souls. Or, when you want to build together, storms become memories. In a world where people sometimes complain about trivial details, this couple reminded everyone that happiness lies in the way we react to trials. And if their story struck such a chord, it is because it spoke to everyone. Who has not experienced an unforeseen event shattering a carefully prepared dream? Who has not felt the frustration of watching their plans fall apart? What Jade and Jamaica showed is that instead of giving in to disappointment, one can turn the unexpected into strength, the obstacle into a bright memory. In the days that followed, congratulations poured in from everywhere. Strangers sent them messages of support. Some couples admitted they had drawn inspiration from their story to put their own problems into perspective. Without seeking it, Jade and Jamaica had become role models. Ultimately, beyond the articles, the shares, and the comments, one image remained engraved, that of two young lovers, hand in hand, smiling in the muddy water of a centuries-old church. An image both fragile and powerful that spoke louder than 1,000 speeches. This wedding will forever remain as a shining proof that true love does not let conditions dictate its course, that it can withstand storms, embrace the unexpected, and turn a trial into a victory. On July 22, 2025, in a flooded church in the Philippines, Jade and Jamaica did not just say, "I do." They reminded the whole world that the most beautiful unions are often born where no one expects them. Feet in the water, but hearts full of light.